somebody said that this episode was just terrible Hollywood, pro-gun control, liberal trash. Just typical Hollywood, pro-gun control, liberal trash. First of all, I want to quote Ryan Knight. Imagine still blaming Susan Sarandon, Jill Stein, Ralph Nader, and Bernie Sanders when the Democrats control the entire government and aren't using their majority to pass a living wage or to make health care and housing a human right. Democrats control the entire government, but it's still Ralph Nader's fault. Remember that third-party candidate that ran in 21 years ago? Remember that third-party candidate that... So The Little House on the Prairie. The Little House on the Prairie, Season 7, Episode 3. A New Beginning, a.k.a. Goodbye, Jonathan Garvey. Goodbye, Jonathan Garvey. The Little House on the Prairie, of course, nice, wholesome show. Nice, wholesome show. Great values and life lessons. You got a nuclear family surviving the frontier, right? So, Little House on the Prairie. This episode is apparently the episode where we say goodbye to Jonathan Garvey. He left Walnut Grove and immediately seceded in the great grand metropolis of Sleepy Eye. But it wasn't easy at first. It wasn't easy at first. He had to deal with some criminal motherfuckers as soon as he went in. So, Jonathan Garvey moves to Sleepy Eye with his son, Andy. He leaves Charles Ingle and Charles's adopted son, Albert, back in Walnut Grove, Minnesota. And, I guess nobody else was in the episode, so it wasn't like, see you later, the entire Ingalls family. It was just, see you later, 2 members of the Ingalls family. And hell, Jonathan Garvey just got there. What the fuck? Jonathan Garvey? And I think this is how they get rid of him. But they, they send him off on a nice, a nice hurrah. They send him off on a nice raft. They just left him out to dry in the middle of the sea, but it was a nice raft, right? So as soon as Jonathan Garvey gets into town, right? So goodbye, Walnut Grove, Minnesota. Hello, Sleepy Eye. Hello, Sleepy Eye. So as soon as Jonathan Garvey and his son Andy gets to Sleepy Eye, he tries to start his freight business. His freight business, I guess, just selling fucking goods and shit, freight, right? Just here's a box of goods and just FedEx, whatever. So freight, what the fuck is freight? What specifically is freight? Like it's like goods. Yeah, goods transported in bulk by truck, train, ship, or aircraft. Okay, so there you go. So a new beginning. Goodbye, Jonathan Garvey. A brand new beginning. Season 7, Episode 3. So Jonathan Garvey gets into the town of Sleepy Eye, and as soon as he gets into town to start his freight business, you have a guy named Pete Rawlings. Pete Rawlings goes up to Jonathan Garvey, and he offers his services. He's a private security guard, so he'll, you need his services. There's criminals around, so pay him, and he'll be a hired gun for Jonathan Garvey in Sleepy Eye. Well, Jonathan Garvey just got into town. He's like, man, I can protect my own shit. I can protect my own property. I don't need you, Pete Rawlings. So thank you for your, thanks for the offer, but no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. And Pete Rawlings didn't pressure Jonathan Garvey. So Pete Rawlings seemed like a legit guy. Pete Rawlings did not pressure Jonathan Garvey. Right, so it's like, hey, you better pay me, I'm the hired gun. It wasn't like some shakedown, it wasn't like, you better pay me some money or else. Seemed like he's an actual hired gun, right? Private security, you pay him, he'll make sure nobody breaks into your place. But guess what? Pete Rawlings, it looked like he was legit, but later on it turns out he actually was the main motherfucker that was leading the entire criminal ring. He was the kingfish criminal leading the criminal ring of, criminal motherfuckers. So, it seems obvious, but then he played it so low-key, I was like, oh, that can't be it, right? Because that's mafia shit, right? You want our protection? Okay, we'll give you our protection. You give us $500. Now, give us $500, we'll protect you. I don't even know what kind of, give you $500, hey, yay, 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 yay. But really, it's a shakedown service. Nah, actually, I'm not going to protect you whatsoever. I'm actually bullying you, motherfucker. Nah, you're going to give me some fucking money. So there's no protection whatsoever. But it didn't seem like that, like I said, but it does. Apparently, Pete Rawlings is the kind of, criminal mastermind that is very polite and mannerly and says, hey, do you want me to be your hired gun? Oh, okay, well, no problem whatsoever. Hey, make sure you rob that motherfucker. Okay, hey, you still don't need my services? You sure? Rob that motherfucker again. Hey, what's up? I keep offering my services, I don't know how many times you're going to reject my friendship here. Crimes are going up in Sleepy Eye, and the hoodlums who hoot and holler all night long were the ones that were responsible. They basically were just obvious as fuck. Yeah, the hoodlums right there. Just hooting, hollering, carrying all night fucking long. The hoodlums, the criminal motherfuckers, even stole from the blind school. So you had the hoodlums, and you had five of the 20-something, 20-something-year-old white male hoodlums went into John Garvey's store and took lots of things. Their getaway vehicle was 2 horses leading a wagon full of stolen goods, which actually is fucking hysterical if you think about it. Horses, wagon. Can you not run after a horse and wagon? Maybe not. But 5 people, and then they're all jumping on the horse and wagon. Well, there's 2 horses. They did not think about this. They all should have had their own horses anyways. So, 5 criminals, right? That's too fucking much. That's overkill. Jesus Christ. These motherfuckers think that they could just kind of walk in anybody's place and just take whatever the fuck that they want. So it was overkill. It was blatant. It was obvious, but I think that's kind of the point, right? These hoodlum motherfuckers, they're the criminal motherfuckers. Everybody knows it. Everybody has to respect it. Think the Rascals or the Rugrats in the City of God? So, their getaway vehicles, 2 horses leading a wagon full of stolen goods. Get out of here! Let's get out of here! So, right after the robbery takes place, Andy wakes up, Jonathan Garvey wakes up, what is out there, runs out, sees him, take off, runs after him, can't catch up to him. Jonathan Garvey's pissed off. Jesus Christ, he's got a freight business, right? Him and his son, Andy, is trying to make a living in, Sleepy Eye in a brand new town. Well, just because they're fucking new? They're brand new, so now they got to be victims of these fucking local goddamn hoodlum motherfuckers? So what is Jonathan Garvey going to do? What is Jonathan Garvey going to do? Chased them, couldn't find them, didn't see their faces, got a sense of, their body shapes and shit. Well, he goes to see the sheriff. The sheriff, I guess, is named Pike. So he goes to see the sheriff, who's named Pike. And Pike is sleeping at the jailhouse with a pistol. And John Garvey says, hey, are you the sheriff? And then Pike, the sheriff, wakes up and puts the pistol in John Garvey's face and says, yeah, who wants to know? And then, John Garvey goes, I need some help. I've just been robbed. Pike, the sheriff, quickly determines that John Garvey is an okay feller, an okay guy, not no bullshit. Pike tells Garvey, though, without positive ID, he wasn't going to do shit about the criminals. Who are the people that fucking did it? Who robbed you? Well, shit, if you didn't know who fucking did it, well, I ain't going to do nothing about it. It's like, oh, come on, sheriff. It's those goddamn hoodlums, and you fucking know it. Can't you ask a question or two? Can't you do a little bit of investigating? What the fuck? Oh, there's a crime? Oh, the breaking and entering? They took all your fucking shit? Oh, you didn't see their face? Well, shit. Well, I'm going back to bed. What kind of fucking sheriff is this? What kind of piece of shit sheriff is this? Jesus Christ. You would think you became a cop to be, one of the good guys, right? To be the hero, the savior, to go after the bad guys, to stop the bad guys from doing bad shit. So this is an opportunity. The fucking hoodlums just did some shit to a motherfucker that didn't deserve it. Well, that's fucking perfect, right? You got the victim, you got the witness. All you gotta do is ask some questions. Bet you've been easy as fuck for Pike, the sheriff, to figure out who did what and why and what the hell was actually going on. Now, you have Elijah Patman. Mr. Patman, Elijah Patman, the banker. And he's a very important character. So, Elijah Patman, the banker, he carries a gun. But so does Pete Rawlings. Pete Rawlings carries a gun, but he's a private security guard. So John Garvey is going to sit there and kind of give Elijah Patman, the banker, some shit. Here comes the liberal, Hollywood pro-gun control. Bullshit. So John Garvey is sitting there giving Elijah Patman, the banker, some shit saying, why are you carrying that gun around? You don't need to carry that gun around. And then Elijah Patman, the banker, points out Pete Rawlings. He's a private security guard. How come Pete Rawlings gets a gun but not me? Jonathan Garvey says, well, that's okay. They expect him to have a gun. He's a private security guard. That's his job. But a civilian banker? Why would a civilian banker need, have a gun? Bankers are supposed to hire the guns, but, I guess apparently they're not supposed to have the gun themselves. Whatever. John Garvey does seem to be a little bit on his high horse at this point in time. It does seem a little bit, out of place, but he lets the thing go. It doesn't seem, he doesn't push the whole thing. It did seem a little out of place, but the argument is 100% foolproof. Jonathan Garvey tells Elijah Patman, the banker, if you leave the gun at home, if you don't have a gun, then it's not possible that you accidentally shoot anybody unnecessarily. Without a gun, you won't ever kill anybody with a gun, right? Without the gun, without the cannon, you're not going to. So Pete Rawlings is going to get arrested with a long gun. Pete Rawlings is going to get arrested with the long gun. Okay, so Pete Rawlings is going to get arrested with the long gun, and then Elijah Patman, the banker, is going to stop one of the hoodlums from robbing him. It's actually the climactic end. Elijah Patman uses his gun and shoots and kills one of the hoodlums. One of the hoodlums, and his papa loved him so, but apparently didn't love him enough to, give him a proper upbringing. So, Pete Rawlings gets arrested with the long gun. The very end has the main hoodlum criminal motherfucker getting shot. And while, they're in their 20s, you want them to reform. You want them to not, go rob a fucking bank. He went with his buddies. All of his stupid-ass hoodlum friends wouldn't go rob the bank with him. They knew the banker had a gun. He had a gun. And they're sitting there staring at each other with, pistols, so-called Mexican standoff, where they both have pistols on each other. And it's like, what, you don't think I'll pull the trigger? I'll pull it. You don't think I will? I'll pull it. I'll do it. I'll do it. So Elijah Patman, the banker, kills him. He kills that poor 20-year-old. And then later on, Elijah Patman, the banker, says he wouldn't have shot. He wouldn't have pulled the trigger. And he goes, you were right. I should have kept my gun. If he would have kept his gun at home, he would have got fucking robbed. His money would have been gone. He'd been fucking ruined. That motherfucker would have gone on, carried his criminal enterprises on and on. So the legitimate motherfucker would have been, and then that's been terrible. That would have been awful. That would have been awful. What a terrible fucking show that would have been. So that, I don't think it's white liberal trash for those two main reasons. They shoot the guy at the end. So that was a very satisfying end. He was the criminal. He was the bad guy. You wanted him to reform, but he fucking had to go rob the bank, right? Had to do it. His entire crew turned his back on him. He still fucking did it anyways. After he lied to his dad, lied to them, lied to everybody. He's still trying to tell everybody, no, it's all good. But it wasn't all good, right? He needed to go fucking show that he was, Mr. Tough Guy, so he needed to go rob the bank. And Elijah Patman, Jonathan Garvey actually walks in the door when they had the Mexican standoff, and then that scares Elijah Patman, and then he pulls the trigger and kills the 20-year-old criminal hoodlum motherfucker that robbed Jonathan Garvey in the very beginning, broke into his place and was taking like shit and put it into a wagon. So like a major fucking criminal, you know, operation. Grand theft. This is a grand theft operation. So because he gets killed at the end, it's a satisfactory ending. I don't give a fuck what, you know, somebody said in the side. Well, somebody had an opinion about guns. Well, they had, if they're not talking about it, then that's kind of an opinion too, right? This sort of, and then, what am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say the banker had a right to defend himself in the property. Pete Rawlings, that first security guard, eventually they're going to find that he's, you know, peddling in stolen goods. And so they ask him to come into the station. When he walks into the station, they put a gun on him and say, "You're under arrest." And he just, you know, goes peacefully. And then you see him being escorted out in a paddy wagon. So they had a long gun on Pete Rawlings. So if this was an anti-gun, you know, there's guns all over the place. If this was an anti-gun episode, how come a gun, you know, stopped the bad guy? It stopped one bad guy. The gun stopped another bad guy. Having a gun stopped two bad guys. And then his argument was completely wrong. You know, Jonathan Garvey was telling Elijah Patman, the banker, not to have a gun. And Pete Rawlings is supposed to have a gun, but Pete Rawlings was the lead fucking criminal fuck. So, the private security guard, the cops, they should have a gun, but not the civilian citizen. What happens when those guys, the hired guns, are, you know, the criminal motherfuckers? I like that Elijah Patman, the banker, had the gun. He defended himself. He defended his business. It was an accident. It kind of reminds me of a court case, a famous Supreme Court case about Conejos County, actually. The guy said he had a gun. It was an old-fashioned gun, and the guy, you know, he was getting bullied by some fucking bully. He was an old man, too, and he pulls the gun out, and he said he accidentally shot it. He didn't even know that it was loaded or that it even worked. It was just an old-ass fucking gun. But, you know, the guy was bullying him, and so it's like, oops, it accidentally went off and, you know, shot and killed the person that was trying to kill me. Shot and killed the person that was trying to attack me. Shot and killed the person that was trying to, you know, rob the bank. And so Elijah Patman, the banker, has, if anything, I think that this episode says the exact opposite. The hired gun turned out to be the criminal, and Elijah Patman, the banker, was able to defend himself in the bank. And Jonathan Garvey, which I'll actually tell you why I like this episode a lot, because of what happened with Jonathan Garvey. But we'll get back to that in a second.
I gotta go.